Okay, here we go. Yeah. Okay, so hi everyone, and welcome to the Add-ons community meeting for November 2nd, 2020. We're expecting a pretty quiet week. Just kidding. That was supposed to be a joke. So we're joined today by Sylvain and Jorge. I want to kick off the meeting by thanking everyone who contributed code to various add-on projects during the month of October. We had a lot of really great code contributions. We had a couple people taking on some harder bugs over on the addons.mozilla.org site. We had a number of web extensions, API bugs land. And notably, we had a couple people come in and fix some things on the web extensions polyfill library, which is a library we built to make cross-browser extension development a little bit easier. So it's always nice to see that folks are contributing and helping the larger ecosystem. So thanks everybody for doing that. Today was really nice. We saw news that somebody had been encouraged by Outreachy and she had landed her first contribution to Firefox. It was her first time hopping into both like a large old established code base, like well-known code base, and she fixed a bug. And so congratulations. That was really, it made my morning to see that tweet expressing her excitement about doing that. So we love seeing that. All right, so we've got just a couple of updates. As the year is winding down, probably the number of updates that we're going to have is going to decrease. Q4 is always tough because it's the quarter impacted by holidays when a lot of people are out of the office. 2020 in particular has been kind of a challenging year, so there's just a little less to report, I think, than usual. And also, just trying to gear up and get ready for 2021. So I would say for the couple of remaining community meetings for the rest of the year, we'll probably have some pretty light updates. That having been said, MozFest is going to be a virtual experience in March 2021. There is still going to be some on-site programming in Amsterdam. This is going to be at the end of March. The theme is going to be around responsible AI, and currently they are accepting proposals. So if you would like to host some sort of builder event or discussion or something immersive and crazy that can happen through your computer, please take a look at some of the spaces that MozFest will be having this year and make sure to get those talks in. We're still kind of figuring out on the add-ons team what and how we might participate in MozFest this year. So in the past, we've used MozFest as an opportunity to invite members of the community to spend a day with us in sort of like a workshop or ideation or learning environment. And then we spend the rest of the weekend attending MozFest sessions together. Because of the virtual nature of it this year, it's a little, and just the fact that our community is spread across so many different time zones, we're not 100% sure yet how this is all going to work. But I think ideally we're hoping to run some sort of virtual meetup or something, maybe some sort of like check-in with some tips on extension development parallel to MozFest this year. So keep your eyes and ears open. If there's anything that particularly interests you that you think would be beneficial to the community, please let me know. I probably need to start working on this a little bit harder than I have been. So that's kind of the deal with MozFest. But anyone is free to submit a talk. You don't need to be affiliated with the add-ons team. Of course, if you have an add-ons talk that you would like to do, or if you would like to use add-ons in any particular way to illustrate a certain point, we would certainly love to see that and love to know about it. If you let us know, we can do our best to help promote that among for attendees. And also we love seeing the content that y'all come up with for some of these talks. So any questions about MozFest? One idea that came up was maybe holding a workshop about how to build trustworthy extensions. So extensions that will hopefully gain you more users because the users will trust you with their information. And so we would talk about like best practices for how to do data consent dialogues if your extension is collecting data, how to do some like preliminary security checks to make sure that all of your extensions are abiding by our add-on policies and thus protecting your users. So we know that users put a lot of trust in extensions, and certainly we want to help you build trust with your users in order to keep them happy. So that's one idea that we're talking about, but we'll see where that goes.
I'm wondering how far Manifest v3 will be in next October, and if workshop could be done regarding this.
Yeah, that's a good question. So so I don't know about next October. I know this particular MozFest is going to be in March. So possibly something about
Manifest. Oh, it's in March. Oh.
Yeah, it's going to be in March. Yeah. So what happened is even before the pandemic happened, they had been trying to figure out. Sorry, just to go into like a little bit of storytelling. So the MozFest team decided to stop hosting MozFest in London. So last year in London was the last year in London. And so they were looking for an alternative like meetup city. And when they settled on Amsterdam, they were exploring some possibilities of like where the space would be. And so they had flagged as early as January that they might not be able to make the space work in 2020. And so they were thinking even before all of the restrictions came in that the 2020 MozFest was going to end up being bumped into early 2021. So that's just a little bit of like, why is this happening at this time? And it is kind of strange for folks who are used to traveling to MozFest to be here at the end of October, early November, and not coming back from MozFest. It's really messed up my sense of time for sure. So yeah, that is interesting. And we're going to be talking a little bit more about Manifest v3 in a few minutes. So that's not a bad idea. That's a good idea is what I should say. That's a good idea. So along the note about the end of the year, so our Firefox release schedule is going to be changed a little bit to give a little bit of extra time. So the Firefox 84 release is going to happen on December 15th, and then we're going to hold the Firefox 85 release until January 26th. So those are the only two that are currently scheduled to kind of like break the current 4-week cycle, just to give people a little bit more time really and time off away from the holidays. And then when we get back into 2021, after January 26th, we'll be back to the 4-week cycle. So those are just the 2 dates that you're going to want to put on your calendar. We're also a little late on this, so our apologies, but we are looking for to reform or form the new board of our Recommended Extensions Community Board. So the Recommended Extensions Community Board is our community members who help us identify and evaluate potential new recommended extensions. So board service lasts for a 6-month term, and then and then we form a new board. It's been a little while since we did this. It's definitely been over 6 months. So again, we apologize for not getting this out a little bit sooner. But currently we are looking for applications for folks who are interested in joining the board for the upcoming 6-month term. So applications are going to be due on November 18th. All you need to do is kind of write a little bit about yourself and why you're interested in what you like about extensions and why you're interested in joining the board. And folks who have previously served on the board are absolutely welcome to reapply. So there's no term limits. You don't get termed out. So yeah, hopefully we'll see some applications from folks, and we're excited to form the new board and welcome more people on board.
Yeah, people that listen to this right now, join us. It's super fun. It's we're a small team, but it's super interesting to try to test those extensions and see what should be recommended or not. I'll be probably part of the team as well. So yeah, come join us. It's
Yay.
awesome.
Yeah, it's great. Sylvain's a long time board member, and it's always great to have you around. So one thing coming up about Firefox 84 is we are landing more granular permissions around or more granular options around optional permissions. There we go. I can speak in full sentences. So basically what has happened is that, we encourage developers to use optional permissions to add extra functionality beyond kind of the add-ons core function. But before, there hadn't been a really easy way for users to be able to grant or revoke those permissions. So starting with Firefox 84, which is currently in nightly, what you can do is you can go into the add-ons manager, and if an extension uses optional permissions, you can open the extension card and actually grant or revoke the permissions from the add-ons manager. So this is going to affect developers in that if your extension is not currently listening for a couple of events, you're going to want to set up some listeners for that, so the extension is aware when a user grants or revokes those permissions. And we also need to update user-facing documentation to let folks know that they have more control now with optional permissions. So that is on my to-do list. But yeah, this is pretty exciting. I mean, this is a nice thing to be able to give users more control about what extensions can and can't do. So we're really excited to have this go out. The other thing is, because this is in nightly, like, we just want to give developers enough lead time to know that this change is coming. And we're hoping that folks will start making their updates and doing some early testing on nightly to make sure that everything is working properly.
I got a question regarding this.
Yeah.
As reviewers, should we test those functionalities when there's optional permissions? Should we test to revoke the permissions and see that the extension still doesn't break, basically?
That's a good question. That might be a question we need to follow up with Philip about. So let me just make a note. Okay, so question. Will reviewers need to test extensions to make sure users are able to turn on or turn off? Okay, we will get back to you. That is a good question. Okay, any other questions about optional permissions? Okay, awesome. Yes, we will follow up about that. And then last week, Rob and Philip spoke at the AdBlocker Developer Summit. So the AdBlocker Developer Summit is I think it's a yearly summit now, hosted by the folks from IO. So they're a privacy-focused company. One of their co-founders is also the first developer of AdBlock Plus. So they get together a couple of different people every year to talk about kind of the state of ad blocking. And the talks range from things like, why are intrusive ads not friendly for accessibility, and and like doing extra research, and then also sometimes browser vendors come in and give updates about ad blocking capabilities available at the browser level, including extensions. So this year we had presentations by Rob and Philip representing Mozilla, kind of just giving an overview about where we are right now with Manifest v3, the state of extension support on the new Firefox for Android, and the new levels are our new promoted add-ons pilot program, where developers can pay to have their extensions reviewed so that they get the security label removed, and they can get the little special verified badge to signal to users that their extensions are safe to be, or have been found safe to be used by people. So we plan on publishing a blog post by the end of the year to kind of give like the written update about Manifest v3, like where we are, like what our plans are. It looks like Chrome has started making some, I think I saw last week that Chrome is doing something with Manifest v3 service workers that's going into effect like this week or next week. Yeah, okay, so, oh no, okay, so here's what we have. So Chrome's part of Manifest v3 service workers will become available in Chrome 88, which is currently scheduled for January 19th, 2021. So we have had some questions about extension compatibility for web request blocking and for declarative net request. That seems to still be an issue that is on a lot of folks' minds. So the blog post is hopefully gonna just let everybody know kind of what our plans are and how developers can, how developers can address some of the compatibility issues that may come up. All of that having been said, the AdBlocker Developer Summit, the recording of the summit should be available soon. We don't have an exact date yet, but it should be coming soon. And once it comes in, we can absolutely share it with folks once we become aware of it. And hopefully I'll be able to drop a link back into this doc so that folks can take a look if they're interested. Sylvain, you were at the AdBlocker Summit.
Yeah.
Was there anything that stood out to you as being particularly interesting?
To be honest, I only watched Philip and Rob. So I checked what was going on. It was mostly on Chrome. So yeah, I just watched the talks about what's going on with the add-ons team.
Okay, that's cool. We're also totally fine with that. Yeah, and we'll definitely, as soon as we have a recording of that, we can definitely share that. So the last update that I wanted to give was about the MDN platform. So MDN is planning to move from a wiki-based platform to a GitHub PR-based platform. I don't have an exact timeline for that yet, but we did have a good conversation with them last week to kind of talk about what that might look like for contributors. So I linked over to the blog post that they published on Hacks, which kind of describes their general concerns and what their anticipated new contribution flow is. This is going to include, they are going to be scaling back a little bit from localization. So right now, I think MDN supports or like offers the ability to customize every page in many different locales. That is probably going to be scaled back in the future. And they're talking about maybe trying to do some automated translation through machine learning for some locales as a starting place. So localization, we know, is a sore spot with Extension Workshop. We know that there's a lot of folks who are a little bit locked out of Extension Workshop because Extension Workshop is currently offered in English. So what we're hoping going forward is that there may be a way that we can collaborate with the folks on the MDN team to see if something's going to be doing for MDN might also be able to apply to Extension Workshop, so that we can get kind of, I don't know, either consolidate or have similar contribution experiences, or just be able to use some of the back-end stuff that they've got on MDN to help improve Extension Workshop. So that's going to be an ongoing conversation, I think, through 2021. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them. Or at least find somebody who can. So yeah, just a heads up that things are changing. We did talk a little bit about how having a PR-based flow does make it a little bit harder to make changes, especially if the changes are just quick things like fixing typos. So we are aware that that is one thing that we might expect going forward, is that there's just less community contributions once they switch over to the new platform, or the new, the new flow style. But I know they're also looking at supporting folks with more instructions on how to submit a PR using GitHub, and just like making that process as easy as possible for people who maybe are new to the Git experience, or, you know, confused by Git. So hopefully whatever documentation they end up putting together, we can just also use for Extension Workshop. Since I know that that's an ongoing question as well. All right, so if there's no questions about MDN, that was everything that I had flagged to talk about this week. So at this time, I'd just like to open the floor up to any other updates or questions or general comments. Okay, very cool. Well, like I mentioned before, this is going to be kind of a crazy week here in the US, so we're going to do our best to not break things, and also not planning on making any announcements this week, just because the news cycle is going to be a pretty intense for the next couple of days. So again, if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to us, and take care, everybody. It was good seeing y'all. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
The recording has stopped.